It is Friday, August 19th here at Draft Shark Studios in Rochester, New York. Welcome to another installment of our Team Insider series. I'm your host, Matt Schauf. With me, as always, is Jared Smola. And today we have a true insider. And I don't mean that as a knock on any of our previous guests at all, but Randy Lange is a senior contributor for NewYorkJets.com. You can follow him on Twitter at rlang with an E, Jets. You just can't follow him into team headquarters, unfortunately. Randy, thanks very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And we have questions about this offense, which really over the past couple of years has gotten a lot more interesting. And I think for fantasy players, the most interesting thing right now is the backfield. So we've got Breece Hall, who arrived in the second round. Of course, Michael Carter is in his second season. These guys basically split the work evenly in the first preseason game. Is that what we should expect from this backfield in week one and then perhaps or likely beyond that throughout the season?
I would say so. I mean, Breece Hall has certainly come in with credentials. Top running back drafted, even though he went the second round, and had some outstanding career numbers at Iowa State. And so, he's got a great attitude. He's got the pedigree with, I think, Roger Craig as being his uncle or something. And so there's a lot of great stuff going on with Breece. And Michael Carter is doing his thing. I mean, he's a veteran. He's like a 5-year veteran in a second-year man's body. And he's got great moves. He's got all of the skills you want, got a great attitude. So I would think that we'd see a split there because that's just kind of how teams are going these days. I mean, how many bell cow backs are there left in the league? There's not a whole lot. Mm-hmm. And Curtis Martin, of course, was great for the Jets. I knew Curtis well and loved watching his career unfold and, for the Jets. But, since then, even though, Chris Ivory, we go through the list, but every year it seems like that top back gets a few fewer carries and a few fewer receptions, and they spread it around a little more. And the Jets do have a very good running backs room to spread it around too, I think.
Do you think either of those guys will play more than the other in the passing game? And that's kind of big for fantasy production. Do you see, is it going to be split there, or do you see one of them kind of emerging as the clear passing down back?
Well, assuming Ty Johnson makes it, he was the third down back last year, and I imagine he would probably hold on to that role, although I don't know that. But I think, I know Jet fans remember, I think it was the New Orleans game where he had 3 drops early on, and they were probably very upset about that. So was Ty, for that matter, but he's a better receiver than he showed in that game. I mean, I think he had the best per catch average among all backs in the league last year. It was like a 10, 8, or 11 or something. A very good average. He's going to keep getting the ball if he stays around. Both Breece and Michael have that capability. I didn't think they used Breece in the passing game quite as much in college as they could have. Maybe I'm misreading that because I didn't watch ISU games that closely. But, Michael Carter definitely has shown that, you put him in the pattern, you give him the ball out in the flat or in the backfield, he's going to put a move on it. He's going to get some yak for you. And so I don't know the answer to that, but I would think that Michael Carter definitely is going to retain a lot of that edge that he has in the passing game. And then you have Ty Johnson, you have Tevin Coleman, who's still around, Tico, who also, except for last year, didn't show a whole lot, is also a very good receiver traditionally. So you got a lot of guys who can do damage with that ball in their hands out of the backfield.
So Zach Wilson coming off the knee surgery now, when do you expect to see him cleared to play? Will it be week one? Will it be a few weeks into the season? And then before this injury, how is he progressing in training camp?
Well, I don't know any more than you guys probably know as far as what Robert Saleh said regarding Zach. But, I thought it was interesting that although Robert did not declare a timeline for Zach's comeback, he didn't rule out a week one comeback. He didn't rule it in. So we're going to have to wait and see. I think it's all basically they want to see Zach as close to 100% as he can get. So if that means that he's going to miss the opener, then he might miss the opener and Joe Flacco will take over. But at some point early on, definitely I would expect to see him. And, don't be surprised if he is the starter in week one, but don't be surprised if he isn't, I guess. That's how it's looking right now. I thought Zach was having a good camp. He was, he didn't have great days every day, but he had some. I think he certainly had better good days than he had bad days, and the bad days were pretty much on pass rush days, I think. And it's like, I think Jet fans have to be patient. I know they hear that a lot, but they got to be patient with this offense this summer, because would you rather have Zach lighting it up every day with his players, because that means that the defense is not coming around too well. So I'd rather have the defense win a few and Zach win a few. And of course, Zach's not going to win any on the field probably for the rest of training camp. But I think he was having a very good camp, and let's see him pick it up where he picked it up last year when he came back from that knee injury. Played, I think he beat Houston in that first game back. He didn't light it up in the final 7 games, but he did very well in protecting the ball. And I'd like to see him increase his accuracy, the percentage of completions, and some big plays. I want to see those plays down the field, more touchdowns, and maintain that very low number of turnovers.
So, Randy, most of us don't get the kind of insight into training camps that you do. When you say pass rush days, do you mean days that the pass rush was performing better, or is it a difference in what the coaches have them working on?
Well, every day is scripted differently, and it's traditional. They hate going against each other because the offense and the defense, they all know each other's moves. And so if you don't change it up as a coordinator, what are you doing? You're just sending these guys against each other every day, doing the same things. And, I would think that might get a little even older after a while than it does now. But I think some days it's definitely, we're going to throw some things at you and see how you handle them. Let's say handling the pass rush. And other days, the offense may be, on target for situational days, like heavy third down, heavy red zone, heavy 2-minute. And that's where I think the 2-minute drill, the offense has been pretty impressive so far, again in camp. But Zach has shown, he showed last year, the one situational area that he was very good at and in the top 10 in the league was red zone and goal to go. He had a very good passer rating. He had a very good touchdown percentage, although the percentage is high, but the number of touchdowns wasn't, because they didn't get down there as much as they should have. So, there's always a give and take there. But Zach playing very well in the red zone in this year's camp. Joe Flacco also. Mike White is, he, as Robert Saleh says, we think we have 3 starters on the team in the quarterback's room. Mike White did start and played a phenomenal game against the Bengals last year. So, you got all these guys, trying to execute this offense to the best of their ability. And I think Zach was doing a great job of that, especially in those situational areas where they need to do a lot better, especially third down, let's say.
So this wide receiver room is really interesting now. In the preseason opener, it was Elijah Moore and Corey Davis as the top 2 guys. And then we saw Braxton Berrios kind of as the number 3. Garrett Wilson, I think, only played 1 or 2 snaps with the starters. Do you think it's going to be more Davis and then Berrios as the 3 to open the season? And then, when do you expect Wilson to, win one of those top 3 jobs?
Well, I mean, Garrett Wilson has received rave reviews from pretty much everybody. I think the entire Jets draft class seems to have done that, and beginning from when they were picked. I'm sure you guys don't remember a draft that the Jets got applauded for quite like they were this past April and May. It was an outstanding draft. They picked 3 of the top first rounders, and then they had a Breece Hall in the second round. So I would expect to see Garrett Wilson soon. I don't think he's going to be held back, although his role may develop. I'm sure it will. But yeah, Corey Davis back from his core muscle injury that, he had corrected in the offseason. And he is a good producer, although he struggled last year with the injuries. And Elijah Moore, I mean, let's see what this kid can do in the second year. He's another one. I don't know that he's similar to Michael Carter, but maybe in mentality he is. It's just all about, I want to get better. I want to be one of the best. Tell me what I need to do here. And then I'm going to go out and do it. and he was very good with catching the ball and the run after the catch and just elusiveness. I mean, it's all there for Elijah Moore. If you can combine that with with Davis and with Garrett Wilson, and then with the tight ends they brought in, and we can talk about that, the offense should be something that will, light up the scoreboard a little bit and get Jet fans feeling in a really good mood about what happens when Zach Wilson has the ball in his hands.
Yeah, definitely a lot of weapons here. You mentioned the tight ends. I mean, the Jets made some big investments in that position this offseason. They signed Tyler Conklin, they signed CJ Uzoma, and they draft Jeremy Ruckert in round 3. My big question here is, do you expect to see more 2 tight end sets from the Jets this season after making those investments?
I suppose we could. I mean, it would make sense because both Uzama and Conklin are very good receivers. Both came off of career seasons, Conklin with Minnesota and Uzama with Cincinnati. And there's probably more where that came from. And that's not even factoring in Ruckert. And, it's a very good tight end room now for assisting in the passing game as well as blocking in the running game, which obviously tight ends have to do these days, most of them. And so the thing I've been impressed with, I mean, Uzama is a bubbly guy. He's a real fun guy to watch, listen to. But the early receiving that I've liked has been Conklin. He had a really nice singled up kind of a slant over the middle in the green and white scrimmage for a touchdown from Zach. And he looks like he's a natural receiver. And I don't know that he's going to, have more catches than Uzama, but that room with both of those guys going and Ruckert, you got a chance to have tight end receiving numbers that the Jets fans have not seen since Dustin Keller. I don't know if we go back as far as Mickey Schuler, but the Keller era was outstanding because Keller was so productive. Let's see that kind of production because that means that everybody on the offense will benefit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jared, it's like a great thing for the Jets, but a rough thing for fantasy players that they have so much talent at tight end. It might be tough for any one of those guys to emerge ahead of the others. So we went around the offense, but now it's time for defense. Anybody who follows this series knows that I like to wrap it up with defense. And there are a couple of key questions for me, Randy. The first is, how has Carl Lawson looked so far in camp? He's coming off the Achilles tear. Of course, last year he joined the team as a big money free agent. So I'm sure that they're hoping he can get all the way back and start delivering this year.
Yeah, I mean, I've liked what Carl has shown so far. I don't know if it's better than last year, but it's definitely as good. He's, I don't know, he was very impactful up until the Achilles injury against the Packers in that joint practice. But he looks like he's ready to go. He's a focused guy. He's very determined to do better than he did previously. I mean, he's notorious for. I mean, he said last year he would have played on the Achilles if they would have let him. Thank God they didn't. But that's the kind of guy he is, and so I really like what we're going to see there. We should see him for the first game because, as you know, Saleh woke up on the day of the Eagles preseason game and decided, well, I'm not going to play Lawson and CJ Mosley. We're going to just sit him out, just little veterans rest day. Well, that probably didn't sit well with those guys either because both want to be on the field. But I would expect to see Lawson against the Falcons on Monday night. And then the rest of that edge rushing, the rebuilt edge rushing element of that Jets defense too. You got Jermaine Johnson, as the other first rounder behind, Sauce and behind Garrett. And you got Michael Clemens, who actually had a really good opener against the Eagles with pressures and a small sack. And he's a very intense guy. You got Bryce Huff, who didn't play a lot last year, but I know the coaches love him. And you got John Franklin Myers, who I think is going to probably move around a lot on that line, but he's ticketed maybe for more inside work this year, along with Quinnen Williams, who everybody expects big things from soon and hopefully this year. So the pass rush looks like, again, something that should do well for the Jets, and that's an area they need to succeed because that helps the offense. That helps get the ball back to the to Zach and his skill players to put points on the board. So it all looks good on paper.
Certainly an area they've tried to build out over the past couple of years. So it'd be interesting to watch how that group performs this year. You mentioned CJ Mosley. He's the sure thing in terms of playing time at non-edge linebacker. Is Quincy Williams going to see full-time snaps next to him? Is there somebody else that could beat him out for that number 2, non-edge linebacker role?
Well, they did sign Quan Alexander, so I mean he's a definite possibility. I mean Quincy, I think everybody agrees on the coaching staff, the fans. They love him when he's on, and it's like when he makes a mistake, oh my goodness, and he did that, with that late hit, against Jalen Hurts against the Eagles, got everybody upset, got the Eagles upset, it got Robert Saleh upset. Quincy knows that. He knows he can't do those things. As soon as he gets a handle on the plays that he shouldn't make, he should be a monster at linebacker next to Mosley. But until that happens, we may see a nice mix. You have Nasruddin and Jamie and Sherwood, both those guys drafted last year. Safeties coming in, but converted to linebacker, light linebackers. But I think they both added some weight in the offseason. Those guys want to make some plays too. So you've got another good mix there. Maybe we don't know exactly what we have day in and day out behind CJ Mosley. We know CJ is going to make tackles. We know he's going to be the great leader for everybody on that defense, not just linebackers. But after that, we need to see the steadiness and the linebacker play behind that front four, which is going to be key to the Jets defense coming back from last year's, pretty much, some moments, some good flashes, but a lot of bad in the low rankings that they had at the end of the year. So let's see those rankings come up. CJ Mosley will lead them back. The defensive line should lead them back. And then, of course, the secondary, which has been rebuilt.
Do you think that the coaching staff prefers Sherwood and Nasruddin in more kind of reserve sub-package roles, or is there a chance for either of them to develop into a starter?
Well, I think you're probably right. I don't know. I haven't seen a lot of them mixing it up with the ones yet, but that could change. And Sherwood, I think, was getting a pretty good spotlight against the Eagles. He had some plays there. He was visible. And they're going to play on specials too, which they have to do. So I think you're probably right. But at some point, one of those two gentlemen may step up and say, it's my turn now. And, it's mix and match. I mean, there may be offenses where Quincy Williams is maybe not as good a fit as Jamie and Sherwood. So we'll see if that works out. But, I think I like the roster. Let's put it that way. I like what they have pretty much up and down the roster on defense, on offense. But as we all know, it's got to now go on the field and produce. And there's only 2 more preseason games to show that. And one of them, the Giants probably won't have a lot of starters on the field. So we're heading for Baltimore and opening day pretty quickly. And the Jets need to pull it together real quick.
Well, you came onto our field and produced the answers to our questions and some insights into these Jets. You can read his work at NewYorkJets.com. You can follow him on Twitter at rlang with an E Jets. Randy Lange, thank you again for joining us today.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it, guys.
You can find every episode of the Team Insider series and the rest of our podcast episodes on DraftSharks.com, on YouTube, on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you like to get your podcasts. Please subscribe, give us a like. Give us a review, whatever, get notified when we have new episodes. We appreciate it if you share and try to pass us along and help get more eyeballs on these episodes. For our guest, Randy Lange, for Jared Small and the entire Draft Sharks crew, I'm Matt Schaff saying thanks so much for swimming with us.